Greetings everyone, my name is Greg. In this video, I am going to be talking about this website, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, on the paper entitled Heaven and Hell in Christian Thought. This video will be the introduction to this series on Heaven and Hell, and it'll be the only one that I do on camera. The others will be a slideshow. But I want to show you the what's in this website in case, and it will be in the description bar below for those that would want to read over this. And I will be addressing in the future videos the 3 points that are raised in their part 1 and breaking it down as to what the problems are with each one of these. But to begin with, behind the various Christian ideas about heaven and hell lies the more basic belief that our lives extend beyond the grave. See the entry on afterlife. For suppose our lives do not extend beyond the grave. In addition to excluding a variety of ideas about reincarnation and karma, this would also preclude the very possibility of future compensation of any kind for those who experience horrendous evil during their earthly lives. I want to pause there and center on a few things, but future compensation is a big one. Also, before I get into the future compensation thing, I find it ironic. This is supposed to be in Christian thought. But yet here in the first paragraph, they say, for suppose our lives do not extend beyond the grave, in addition to excluding a variety of ideas about reincarnation and karma? Those don't exist in Christianity. How can this be about Christian thought when they're wanting to include non-Christian ideas? They are wanting to interchange other ideas about an afterlife into the Christian thought idea, which means they're not accurately giving Christian thought because they're wanting to interject these others that don't relate to Christian thought. But the idea of future compensation, this just irks the living hell out of me. Because Christians love to talk about their good works and the good works that their church does, or the good works that this or that group that's Christian based does. But if you're only doing that because you're looking to be paid off, then your entire motivation is self-centered. It is all about me, and fuck you. Furthermore, the idea of these Christians want to be compensated for the horrendous evils during their lives. What about the horrendous evils that they do to others? Doesn't that matter? Do you get a pass, Christians, because you claim to think something? It's obnoxious to try and act like you need to be compensated for what you experience in life, but those that your actions harm, fuck them. They don't believe like I do, so it doesn't matter how I treat them. That's really what you're getting down to. That's really what you're saying. And it's showing how self-centered you people really are. Indeed, despite their profound differences, many Christians, though perhaps not all, and many atheists can presumably agree concerning this. Brace yourself. If a young girl should be brutally raped and murdered, and this be the end of the story for the child, then a supremely powerful, benevolent, and just God would not exist. An atheist may seriously doubt that any future compensation would suffice to justify a supreme being's decision to permit such an evil in the first place. But the point is that even many Christians would concede that apart from an afterlife, such an evil would constitute overwhelming evidence against the existence of God. Some might even concede that such an evil would be logically or metaphysically inconsistent with his existence as well. There are some problems, a lot of problems I have with this. First of all, it is ignoring the fact that if you're talking, and this is Christian thought, so we can keep it there, but since they included reincarnation and karma, I might as well toss in some other belief systems, because fuck it. But in Christian thought, unless a person thinks Jesus died and all that shit, for them, after they're dead, they're going to be tortured forever because they didn't think the right thing. So, if you have a Jewish girl that is brutally raped and murdered, and the Christian idea is accurate, not only was she brutalized and murdered in life, the victim of horrendous evil, in the afterlife, in the Christian view of the afterlife, her torture, her pain isn't over. It's just beginning. Because she didn't think the right thing. Or if she was Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, atheist, Native American, doesn't matter. Because in the Christian view, unless you think what their Hitler demands, and it is about the Hitler type, the Sieg Heil, unless you Sieg Heil to Christianity and what they want, what they say, you're tortured forever in an afterlife. That's their idea. Let's be clear on what you're talking about. It is a lot more blunt. It is a lot more in your face with Islam. Over and over again in the Quran, it says about those that do not believe in Allah, theirs is a horrendous doom. It's very big on doom. But it comes to the same. That if you do not believe like them, if you do not think like them, that you're going to have a tremendous doom. It's all about doom in Islam. Yeah. But the thing is, this is a very superficial, and I would even contend unintelligent way of looking at this type of situation. Because there are girls, even children, that have been brutally raped, murdered. And the idea that you could compensate someone for that or anything is obnoxious. Because one of the things I had heard about, I have not seen the video and I don't want to see it, is there is a video that does exist called The Destruction of Daisy, Daisy's Destruction, about the rape and murder of an 18-month-old child. Think about that. The rape and murder of an 18-month-old child. That is beyond appalling. And to try and act like a god exists, benevolent or otherwise, that a magical being exists and does nothing? Are you fucking kidding me? It just... You want to talk boil my blood? That is one example. One. There are tons of examples that could be given as to, you want to talk evidence against a God? Against something existing that would give a fuck about you? There are tons of examples in the real world. However, to skip down in this, it's hardly surprising that a belief in an afterlife would be an important part of the Christian tradition. Even if our lives do extend beyond the grave, however, the question remains concerning the nature and future in store for us on the other side, and the various Christian views about heaven and hell are proposed answers to the question. According to a relatively common view on a wider Christian culture, heaven and hell are essentially deserved compensations for the kind of earthly lives we live. Good people go to heaven as a deserved reward for a virtuous life, and bad people go to hell as a just punishment for an immoral life. In that way, the scales are sometimes thought to balance. This is obnoxious. It's one you can tell I like that word in regards to Christian thought. This just makes my head want to just go, because what it completely ignores is the fact that Christianity is not about how you live your life. Do you live a virtuous life? That's not what Christianity is saying. Christianity is all about thought crime. Do you claim to think what they say? Are your thoughts in line with the way you're supposed to sig heil? Yeah, that's what their Jesus and their God and their whole Trinity, their whole base concept with Christianity is Nazi-like. Sig heil. That's what Christians are doing when they bend over backwards to excuse and justify the brutalization of others in an afterlife because they didn't think what the Christian said. They are goose-stepping and sig-heiling to their evil fantasy deity. But what it also ignores is, what about people that are sociopaths? I've done a lot of research on sociopaths because I find them fascinating. People like Richard Kuklinski. He was termed the Iceman. He could be called a serial killer, but he was more accurately termed a paranoid sociopath or antisocial personality disorder, which is sociopath. The truth of the matter is, with someone like that, they have a genetic disposition towards being a sociopath, having absolutely no feeling or regard for anyone else. No thought for anyone's feelings but theirs. Now, what is combined with the base genetic position that he would have had from birth is the parents that he grew up with. He grew up in a very abusive, physically abusive and emotionally abusive family. As a result, the things that he saw role modeled and the behaviors that he learned all set up for how his life was going to unfold. it raises the question of free will. That given, if you would have the same genetics as Richard Kuklinski, as well as the same childhood experiences, logically, you would be doing exactly what he did. And that is where the idea of, do we have free will, comes into play. And the problem with this is, you have, if a God exists, you have a God that is sitting back like this, knowing full damn well this person is born with a genetic predisposition towards being a sociopath. And combine that with the upbringing that he has, the religious family, the abusive father, the alcoholism, all of those issues stacked on top to the God sitting back doing this, not getting involved, not doing anything, just sitting there. It's as guilty as the father that abused him, as well as him doing the things that he did. The God is just as guilty of the evil actions. You can't sidestep its responsibility for its own inaction by being, it's God, it can do whatever it wants. No. Because there was one example he had given in the interviews that he gave, that where he said that one person was oh Jesusing and oh Godding all over the place, and he gave him a chance. He gave him like 30 minutes. He said, if you can get God to come down here and intercede and change the circumstances, I'll give you that time. And he gave the person that time. And they were oh Godding and oh Jesusing the whole time. And he said, no God came down, circumstances weren't changed, so he died. And he said, well, maybe I shouldn't have done it that way. The thing is, it didn't matter how much the person was oh Godding and oh Jesusing. End of the time frame, nothing got involved, bam, you're dead. Does a God exist? Based on its inaction, the logical conclusion is, no, it doesn't. So the person was ultimately wasting their time with their delusions to a God. But if a God would exist, it would be morally reprehensible for its inaction in the face of all of these horrendous evils that are occurring in our world. And this is not even talking about the shit in nature. This is just talking about the shit that people do. You could really toss in the aspect of hurricanes, earthquakes, natural disasters, all of the things like that that an all-powerful God would know are going to happen, but yet it chooses to sit back and do nothing. And the idea of it'll compensate you later, that is sick. It reminds me of the story that is in the book of Job. One of Job's children were killed and so forth, and the God was, I'll give you double. As if children are objects, that they're just property like cattle. That, oh, you lost 2, okay, I'll give you 4. Really? You think people can be just tossed aside and be, oh, you lost 2, okay, it's no biggie. It's no different than, oh, you lost a soda bottle, okay, I'm giving you 2. There, now you have double what you had. You can't treat people that way. And to act like something like that is loving and That's obnoxious. It is disgusting to say the least. But this idea of, and in this introduction, it is all about the idea of future compensation for. The thing is, that is disgusting. And it is a slap in the face to morals, justice, empathy. It simply doesn't work. You can't have something trying to act like you can be compensated for what you experience in life. Because even, and let's be honest, most Christians don't experience horrendous evil. Not really. Yeah, there is the cause and effect of life that shit happens. But the truth of the matter is, most of us, at least in the United States, the vast majority of us, we have our ups and downs, but we're not going through tremendous evil. And I mean, you can toss in not just Christians, but atheists, everybody. We all go through highs and lows. It's just part of life. To act like you need to be compensated for? Really? You're that shallow? You're that focused on what am I getting out of it? Where's my payday? Where's my payoff? If the only reason you're doing something is you're looking for a payday, then your motivations are not worth trying to say that it's noble or that you're doing something because it's right. You're doing it because you want paid. You want the reward. You want the goodies that you think you're going to get. It's not about doing something because it's what you want to do. And in that, I would say, why waste your time even doing it? Because if you're not really wanting to do something, don't do it. Don't try acting like you want to do something to help someone else because you're really looking for a bigger payoff in an afterlife. And the idea of an afterlife, if such would exist at this point, it would be a so what. If such would exist, to say that anything would be based on this life, especially if it is your thoughts, not what you do, but what you claim to think, that's obnoxious. That is not justice at all. That is sadism wrapped in sadism. It is all about, did they sig heil or not? And if they didn't, then you want to see them hurt because they didn't goose step as you wanted. Not thinking like you, Christians, isn't a crime. But wanting someone else tortured because they don't think like you, frankly, that should be. Because that is wanting someone else hurt just because they don't think like you. I would never say that. I don't know any atheists that would. In fact, I know a lot of atheists that would not only not support that type of thinking, they would oppose it as strongly and as vehemently towards anybody. It wouldn't matter if it's being said to an atheist, Christian, whoever. The atheists I know, they wouldn't go along with it because it's not what they would support. It's not about, are they going to get a payday for their position on something. But feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Later, people.